Good morning. This is Ryan Crossley in the Ryan Crossley Show. What a joy to be with you this morning. This is our time. We are trying to make a difference in this world that we're living in. It seems like everybody's lost their minds. For goodness sakes, I can't believe the things we're having to talk about and deal with. And it is time to talk about it. It's time to try and give some good perspective of what's going on. We got so much to get through today. I probably won't get through it all, but we do want to talk about it. My point in this program is to try and give you what is, and I have no problem telling you this, it's in my opinion, the things that are behind it. What's really going on behind the curtains. And I'm not talking conspiracy theories or anything like that. I just need to try and give some clarification as to what I feel. And we got some major things happening that we need to talk about. You need to know how much further these things can go than what they're going to go, than what they seem that they're going now. There's a whole lot going on in our world, and you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of what's going on. And I personally believe that as Christians, we've got to truly just speak up and try and make a difference in the world that we're living in. I don't believe for 1 second that we need to have our mouths shut. Now, I am from Florida. You see my little Michigan shirt on this morning. The Michigan shirt on this morning is simply because this weekend I will be in Michigan with my dear friend, Danny Johnston, a great pastor. He is celebrating his anniversary services, and so we are excited to be able to be in Michigan with Danny Johnston. And so pardon the Michigan shirt to all of you Floridians. I'm not trying to offend you or anything, but it's just a matter of trying to help represent my friend. And so my Michigan shirt is alive and well today. And Brother Johnston, if you're listening, man, look at the sacrifice that I'm making today wearing this Michigan shirt and being a Floridian. I could get in big bad trouble for doing this. And so we are going to talk about quite a few things today, and hopefully we will be able to get through it without getting too aggravated. And it's just, I'm telling you, there's few words that come to my mind when I'm thinking about this administration. First of all, tell me one thing they've gotten right. One thing they've gotten right. I haven't seen one single thing that they have gotten right. The word that comes to my mind is disaster. Absolute disaster. Because it doesn't seem like anything ever pans out from the very beginning. Have you ever seen so many disasters in 10 months? I haven't. 11 months. We're only a year in, folks. We're just barely almost a year in, and it's just compare your world, okay? If just compare your life now. Compare your life now to what your life was a year and a half ago. It's insane when you think about where we're at now and where we were a year and a half ago. It's just unbelievable. And here I am with my leftist tears. I got to give a shout out to Sister Maribel. I'm drinking my leftist tears today. They don't like what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it. This is my new cup. So I knew Manny, I knew you'd like this. Manny Salmeron, God bless you. He's faithful to this program. These are my leftist tears. I just got to drink the leftist tears. So anyhow, we got a lot going on, and I've got an exciting thing this morning. My political conversation partner is here, and that is my dear wife, Amy Crossley. She is the better half of our house. She's the one that makes it run. And if you've ever been around her, she's not opinionated at all, right? No, she's not opinionated. Of course, she's opinionated. But we have great conversations about politics. And I want to simply introduce you to her. This is the first time she's ever been on my program. So say hey to everybody, baby.
Well, hello, everyone. I enjoy politics. I've never actually gotten into politics until President Biden started running for office, but I listen a lot to politics. Sometimes I have to take a break from it, though.
Yeah, she gets mad.
Yeah.
It affects our home. She's fired up, and we got 4 little activists in the car too every morning. She listens to the Patriot Network a lot. XM, I think it's channel 125. Shout out to them. But the reason I want her on the show today is just to kind of bounce some things off of her. We are really, and I say this sincerely, we are really praying about this Kyle Rittenhouse case. Those of you that are paying attention, and if you're not, you should pay attention. If you are not paying attention to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, or if you are if you are depending or relying on CNN, MSNBC, all these other mainstream media avenues for your information on the Kyle Rittenhouse case, you are being sorely misinformed as to what's going on. So yesterday, the jury finally got the case to do their deliberation. And to be honest with you, I mean, if it wasn't so politically motivated, and if the case wasn't so politically charged, that jury should only need to be in deliberation for a couple hours and come back with a clear acquittal for this kid. Because we live in an era of technology where there's video and pictures, and you cannot create a narrative that doesn't exist. The videos, the pictures have been clear as day. Kyle Rittenhouse was not there as some kind of white supremacist maniac trying to just see how many people he could mow down. That was not the case at all. What have you learned, babe, about the case, just things that you've been listening to?
I haven't listened to the whole trial. I've just read little clips here and there. From what I've read and what I believe he was there just like the rest of us would have wanted to be there, and that was to try and protect these businesses from being, from the rioters getting into there and looting all their stuff.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to go down there and do that, but there's a big part of me that wanted to do that because I believe in America. I believe in our country. I think we should do whatever we can to save our country.
Yeah, well, I think, when the riots were happening, we were all sitting at home watching it on TV, right? Or watching the news or hearing it on the radio. I remember very vividly us watching to see what was going to happen in Miami.
Right.
Because we were in a sense a little bit afraid, because Miami could be a powder keg. Miami could, wrong move, whatever. You've got enough. I mean, metro areas are metro areas. You've got enough diversity there to where Broward and Miami-Dade, where it could have blown up. And we were, and in fact, I'll tell you what, I was so proud of the Miami PD. They were experts. They shut that thing down. It's like they gave them just enough rope to do what they needed to do to feel like they got out of their system, whatever protesting they needed to get out of their system. And then after that, they just shut it down hard.
Well, they took control before it got out of hand.
Yeah, they did. They took control, and they were systematic in the way they did it. It was amazing to watch. Mm-hmm. So down here, after about 3 days, it was like, Nothing happened. But these other places just let it get out of hand. I remember watching there in Washington, D.C. You know, let me just say something. I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but all this junk that they have pulled about the January 6th Capitol, they call it an insurrection. That's not an insurrection. You want an insurrection? It would have been crazy. But they want to talk about the January 6th thing like it was just this horrible thing. But when you go back and you watch the videos of Washington, D.C., and those fences they had, they're throwing bricks, they're throwing water bottles. They are literally attacking the Secret Service of the United States, lighting a church on fire. That didn't happen January 6th. You know, these people that were insurrectionists, they didn't light the Capitol on fire. They just walked through. And yet they're being painted in a way worse manner than the rioters were and the looters were last year. And so what I'm trying to say is, as we were watching that unfold, I think in every patriot's heart, in every American's heart, and I'm saying American because some people, if they don't think this way, I doubt their patriotism. But I think in every patriot's heart, we were devastated at the fact that they were just letting these people, completely destroy cities when they let them take over the police precinct. Are you kidding me? And so what Kyle Rittenhouse did, honestly, I think was in the heart of every last one of us to do. If I would, let me just put it this way. If I would have had a business that was on the line, my life savings, my sustenance there, you better believe I would have been out there trying to defend my property. And I think that's originally what he went to do. He was, from what they were talking about, he's wanted to help as a medic, and he did. They actually have him, the evidence of him helping people that were injured or hurt. He was cleaning graffiti off of the walls. Isn't that crazy? He's cleaning the graffiti off the walls, not putting it on the walls, and yet he's the white supremacist that needs to go to jail, according to the media. And so what I'm trying to say is the whole argument that he shouldn't have been there in the first place, I think if you take in account what the atmosphere was like in our country, he wasn't the only one that wanted to go and defend. I wanted to do it.
Right.
Where we lived, thank God, everything shut down. But if things would have got crazy in Miami, well, do you remember, even in our home, we sat down with the boys and we had a little bit of a game plan as to if something went south, what we would do. So anyhow, the narrative from the get-go was that Rittenhouse is some kind of white supremacist, that he went there to just shoot black people because of the George Floyd protests that broke out all over. And that's not true at all. Not true at all. In fact, if you want to go race, which we were talking about this, they just throw race around.
Mm-hmm. White supremacy.
Yeah, I can't think of a good argument, so you're a racist.
Right.
That's the world we're living in, right? If I don't agree with what you said or you're a racist. That's just where we're at right now. Have you noticed, that the 3 people that he killed, or the 2 people he killed and the one that he shot, all of them were white.
Right.
Not one of them was a black person. So if you're going to go on the people he killed on the basis of that and say, well, he's a white supremacist, well, you got a big problem with your argument there, because none of them are black. But there's a whole lot deeper issues going on, in my opinion. This case is a politically charged case. At any other time, it would be an open and shut case of self-defense. Video proves it. Pictures proves it. The prosecution has been a disaster. The prosecutor, he pointed a gun at the jury. Basic rules of gun safety. You don't point a gun.
I heard someone comment on the Alec Baldwin thing that happened, and the man said that if you raise a gun and point it at somebody, you have to be willing to destroy whatever it is that you're aiming that gun at. So if you're aiming at a person, you're taking that risk of, I'm willing to destroy that person.
It's
You
insane.
don't point a gun. Gun safety, you do not point a gun at someone.
No, you don't. I mean, we have boys, and we teach them gun safety. And anybody knows you don't point a gun at another person.
No.
And the prosecutor, I don't know what on earth he was thinking. But you've been praying about this. What is it that you feel is going on? This is an editorial type of show, so we're not newscasters. But what do you feel is going on? The deeper issues or what you've thought about this case?
I feel like justice is on the line to me, because this is going to prove whether our justice system is truly just. I do believe that this case is going to set a precedent in our country for other cases that might arise. But even more than that, what's going on in the political realm, I think it's going to set a precedent for what's going on now, because people are looking right now for a ray of hope anywhere. I think we found a ray of hope when in the race in Virginia. It was a victory there because it was definitely in the news. It was definitely publicized. And, this Rittenhouse case is definitely publicized. It's
Yeah.
definitely on everybody's hearts, and everybody that is watching knows that he should be acquitted. But, it's also in the hands of the jurors. They brought up, I don't remember what show I was listening to, but they brought up some cases from the past where also the judge needs to be able to be a judge that says whether or not the jury gave him a fair charge, if he needed to be charged. There's been cases in the past where the whole case has been thrown out by the judge. So, I think Andrew and our prayer is that if this jury comes back with a conviction, that the judge will be the right judge that will stand up and on the behalf of Kyle Rittenhouse. There's no way, with the evidence that has been presented, that he needs to be put in jail for life. He doesn't deserve that.
No, every
He was exercising his Second Amendment rights.
well, and look at let's just kind of go over it a little bit here. The boy runs 2.5 blocks away from the people that are chasing him. So he is trying to get away. They knock him to the ground. He still doesn't pull the trigger. They hit him in the head with a skateboard. That's pretty threatening. There's a flying kick coming at him. So to act like he was just trigger happy is an absolute violation of what happened. That's not what happened at all. It's like there's been so many legal analysts that have said this is an open and shut self-defense case. But here's the problem. Here's where I'm going. This is not about just the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
No.
This is about your Second Amendment rights.
Yep.
That's what this is about. If they can politically charge this enough, which they have. Manny was just saying that the judge and his children are being threatened. One of the things that I don't understand at all, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but one of the things I don't understand at all is why on earth they're letting this jury go home.
That's exactly right.
I
There's
mean,
no way in the case like this, the jury.
No way. It is too politically charged.
Not just for them not seeing something, but also for for their own safety.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They're not even looking out for the safety
It's
of
not
the
just
jurors.
about them watching something on TV about the case or getting on the internet and finding out what's being said. But what if they're home, what's preventing them from being threatened? What's preventing them from receiving a phone call at their home or somebody showing up in the middle of the night and saying, unless you give this kind of verdict, your wife and your kids are threatened, or your husband or what have you?
Right.
And that it's insane to me that they're allowing these jurors to go home knowing how politically charged this case is. If the judge and his kids are being threatened, you don't think for a second that these jurors are being threatened? Of course they're being threatened. And no matter how much you want fairness, and no matter how you want justice, how much you want justice to play out, I want you to put yourself in the position of a juror who has a family, and I think seven of the jurors are women. Imagine if it's women that their kids are being threatened, and okay, you got to choose between your family potentially suffering harm or issuing judgment on a kid you really don't know. And okay, it's gone, and there's going to be half the country that's happy with us and half the country that's mad at us. If your life's being threatened or your kids are being threatened, that's a very strong thing that plays into people's decision making. So I think it's crazy that they're letting them go home. I think that's problematic to the case. If the judge is being threatened and his kids are being threatened, I guarantee you these jurors are not exempt from that kind of thing. But this is about our Second Amendment rights, okay? I agree. Okay, I agree in a sense. Like if it was my child, one of my first thoughts was you shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Right.
Okay, so I'm not here.
But there's nothing you can do about that at this point.
That's exactly right. I'm not here to defend his decision to go there or not go there. Okay? Fine. And let's just say this, okay? Let me just say this to all of you leftists, those that are just calling everybody racist and think this kid's horrible. If you have a problem with Kyle Rittenhouse being there, why don't you have a problem with all the rioters and looters destroying buildings, taking people's livelihood, and also causing a lot of physical harm and damage and death, which they did? So don't come at us that are trying to say, okay, this kid shouldn't have been there, but since he was there, don't use that as your argument, because if you want to use that as your argument, every last one of them looters, everyone, it's ridiculous. People going into shopping stores, into stores like, we all watched it happen. They're just cleaning them out of TVs and shoes and clothes. It's ridiculous, So don't try and use that as your argument. Like, well, he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, the looters shouldn't have been there in the first place, for goodness sakes.
Right.
So don't use that as your argument. Now that he's there, he has the right to defend himself. The other thing a lot of people were saying was that, well, he was carrying the firearm was illegal for him to be carrying. It's not illegal. The prosecutor tried that, but the illegal possession of a firearm was thrown out. In fact, Rittenhouse's first lawyer predicted that was going to happen because it has to do with the size of the gun, the length of the barrel. And it was not an illegal possession of firearms for him. So it boils down to his right to defend himself. And honestly, it boils down to our rights to defend ourselves. Because if Kyle Rittenhouse is declared guilty, okay, if he's declared guilty, then everybody else's right to defend themselves is threatened.
Right.
It's threatened because, you know when this first started, do you remember during the same protests, that couple that came out, right? That couple that came out, I can't remember their name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Honestly, the picture to me is hilarious. I just think it's hilarious. He's standing there with his AR, and she's got the pistol up in the air.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, and they're just sitting there going, okay, try something, and you're going to get hurt. You know what? You're trespassing on my property. I have the right to defend my property. And they didn't, if you look at it, they didn't point the guns at the people. They were just showing them, we have these.
Right.
You know, they didn't even do what the prosecutor did in the courtroom yesterday. They just were showing them, we have these guns, so just stay away. Those people have had to fight legal battles, lose their firearms. It's just insane what has happened to that couple. If you don't think they're after our guns, you are sorely mistaken. That's where this is going. It's not just a self-defense issue. Self-defense is what the case is about, but it's about him having that firearm and having the right to defend himself. And so this case is very important, because it's about a whole lot more than just whether Rittenhouse was in self-defense or not. Or how do you see that? That's what I think. That's what I see when I see this case.
Well, I feel like if they don't follow, to me, the law and what the law states in Wisconsin, to me, they didn't execute justice.
Right.
Because he clearly, if you followed a little bit of the trial, you can see that he acted in self-defense.
Yep.
Clearly,
It's very
acted
clear.
in self-defense. So, to me, I don't know why they're deliberating for so long.
I don't either.
I don't understand
It actually worries me a bit.
It worries me too, because I am worried about our country. And this is definitely just kind of one of the many cases that have been brought out. I feel like it's a very important case, and I think people either need to pay attention,
Yeah.
or they're going to get.
But here's the crazy. There's such a double standard.
Yes.
It drives me nuts. And at what point are people going to get mad enough about that, or upset enough about that to finally say, hey, this has to change? Let's give examples. Alec Baldwin on the set of the movie. He killed the girl. Be it however it is, the gun was in his hand when she was shot and the director was injured. Has he been arrested to await trial? No. He hasn't been arrested to await trial. Now, here's the thing. I'm not convicting Alec Baldwin. I'm not. But Rittenhouse, he's had to be in jail awaiting the trial. You know? The other is this Travis Scott incident in Houston the other day. Why has he not been arrested yet to await trial? For the death of 8 people and the injuries, actually it's 10 people now that have died. A little 9-year-old boy died. I don't know what parents are doing taking 9-year-old children to those kind of concerts. They're the ones that need to go to jail. But Travis Scott, nothing's happened to him. Alec Baldwin, nothing's happened to him. It's this double standard that if you have a conservative value, if you are a moral person, if you represent a certain, according to their perspective, a certain demographic of people or political views, well, you're harshly dealt with. But those that, it's like they get a free pass all the time. And I'm so sick and tired of the double standard. That's why I really hope that this jury, yeah, you're right. Diana Rebolledo says because they're famous. You're absolutely right. Because if you have money, nothing happens to you. You know, look at the whole, now I'm taking a hard left with what I'm going to say, but the whole fake dossier that they did on Trump. Nobody, who's paying the price? Why isn't Hillary Clinton in jail right now, waiting trial? You know, because she has money and because who she's connected to in the politics. Because it's coming out very obviously now that they were the ones that were in collusion and doing all that. So I get sick and tired of the double standard, and it does worry me because our rights are under attack. And you better hope, I hope and pray, everybody that's listening to this, I hope that you're praying for this jury to come back with an acquittal. And listen, and I'll be the first to tell you, if Kyle Rittenhouse would have just pulled the trigger without being threatened, if he would have just shot somebody because of the atmosphere that he was in and his life wasn't in danger, then I would not be defending him as though self-defense. Right. But when you look through the trial and the evidence, it's very clear self-defense. We need to make sure, we need to really pray that this jury comes back with an acquittal. I hate it how I feel like, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like there are areas of our government that used to be exempt from being politically charged or motivated by ideologies or parties. One would have been, to me, like the FBI. Mm-hmm. The FBI should serve the people.
Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court, for goodness sakes. Have you ever thought about that? Think about this, right? I know this sounds strange, but why, to me, and maybe this is very utopian type of thinking, but to me, if a judge is to go by the law that is written, right, there should never be a split decision. It should always be unanimous.
Exactly.
Right?
If you're following the law, it shouldn't matter whether you're liberal or conservative.
Right. And that's what blows my mind. Conservative and liberal judges let us know that the system is contaminated.
Right.
Because if the law is at 65 miles an hour and I was going 80, liberal or conservative judge, you broke the law. You were 15 miles an hour over. And it should be unanimous every time, which lets us know that the systems that have been put in place for our rights to be protected have been corrupted.
Right.
They've been corrupted by politics. They've been corrupted by ideologies. People that, so you have judges that will advance things that are contrary to what's written in the Constitution. And they will go ahead and support something that is contrary to what's written in the Constitution. And it's sad when you think about it, because our Supreme Court, the Department of Justice right now is very corrupt, standing with school board members against parents, mobilizing and motivating the FBI to investigate parents that they think are a problem.
Calling them terrorists.
Calling them domestic terrorists. When you come out, I mean, this is so insane. When you come out, when you equate climate change as a national security threat equal to China, you've just lost your mind. You're going to tell me that climate change, first of all, how is climate change a national security threat? I don't know. I understand how climate change, although I think it's a big farce and religion within itself, but how on earth is climate change a national security threat? If climate change is even, if you can even validate climate change. And, you know, it used to be global warming, but that doesn't work too well when all of a sudden you have a cold spell. So then they have to change the vocabulary. It's not global warming anymore. It's climate change. Well, duh. Climate change goes either way, so you don't lose. You know, if it's cold, well, it's climate change. If it's hot, well, it's climate change. But if climate change, if you could even validate it, how is that a national security threat? I can see how it's a global thing that needs to be talked about. You're not going to be able to do anything about it, particularly. But to say and equate it with the threat of China or that sort of thing, it really scares me. It scares me when we can see things like these systems, like the Department of Justice. Like, this should be an open and shut case. It should be an open and shut case. the jury should come back, and I hope the jury comes back and acquits him, because that would be the right thing to do. Everybody, even people that are not conservative, have admitted that the prosecution pretty much had no case, and whatever kind of case they made backfired on them. But it's much, much more than this. It's going to be about your Second Amendment rights, and that's what you have to understand. The book that I'm reading, called Dark Agenda, The War on American Christianity, or Christianity in America, written by David Horowitz, he says something very true. He said, there are agendas that are lying underneath the surface, but they're waiting for the right issue, the right situation, like a 9/11, like a George Floyd thing, like the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, to advance their agenda. So I'm just saying, I really pray that this jury comes back with a acquittal. If they don't, our justice system is broke.
Yeah. That's what I feel people are going to feel.
Yeah. Well, like, if they don't come back with an acquittal, our justice system is really broke. Now, let me share something with you, and we'll talk about this. I got a message from my mother yesterday, but it comes from Lynette and Stephen O'Donnell. They're missionaries over in Asia, and I think they're in Hong Kong, if I'm not mistaken. But this is the message they sent Saturday at 8:16 a.m. And I'm going to turn this around in a moment so people can see it. But this is the message from the O'Donnells. It says, people get ready. It's closer than we realize. Watch this. Listen to this, babe. Today, before I could enter the grocery store, I had to show a green health code on my phone. And it says, today, before entering the grocery store, I had to show a green health code on my phone. The health code has my HK, or Hong Kong, ID card number with all my personal information, and the green QR code is stating I do not have COVID today. Plus, I needed to have my temperature taken on my hand. So here, I'm just going to turn around. Let me see. I'm going to I need to probably block them out. So, but it's just this QR code. You see it? It's this green QR code that it's their health code. It's a health code. And that health code has their ID number. So imagine, like here in the States, Social Security number. And it has all the personal information, your address, where you live, your phone number, your email, everything. I don't know. It might even have bank account stuff. Who knows? Plus, I needed to have my temperature taken on my hand to go into the grocery store. Now, I'm not trying to be a alarmist or trying to be apocalyptic in what I'm saying, but Revelation 13:16, Bible says he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor. Isn't that crazy? Okay. He causes all, small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he had that mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. I remember when we first started talking about this stuff and you would mention it. You know what was sad to me, babe? Christians laughed at you. Mm-hmm. Christians laughed at you like you're just ridiculous. You're just lost your mind talking about the vaccine. First of all, not just the vaccine. Let's not even get to the vaccine. But at first, when it was all about the masks, you couldn't go in and out of somewhere with a mask. When we started talking about, what this could mean and where it could go, And people thought you were just ridiculous, like you're an alarmist, like you've lost your mind. I've been made fun of. I've been ridiculed. I've been, oh, you're just, I remember one pastor, it's just a small thing. It's just a small thing. Well, you think it's a small thing now? It's not a small thing now. What is it that you read about Austria?
In Austria, right now they're segregating the vaccinated and the unvaccinated.
What are they doing?
They're limiting them like when you're in lockdown. They can do essential things like they can go to work or go to the grocery store, but other than that, they're not allowed to just go about freely.
It's insane. But they're actually, aren't they segregating them into a different area of the population? I read something like that.
They were trying to do that actually in either New Zealand or
in New
Australia.
Zealand, yeah.
I think it was New Zealand.
I can't remember which one. Jonathan Walmer told me that they were building like camps, quarantine camps.
Right. Yes, I think that's New Zealand.
Yeah, they're building quarantine camps. So you've got to understand that that is exactly. I mean, imagine this: you can't go into the grocery store without showing a QR code that has all of your personal information on it. So that grocery store now knows things about you they have no business knowing. They don't need that information. I'm just going in to get a gallon of milk is all I need. Right. But we're getting there. And the problem is, we are kind of like in the United States, folks, we've got to fight for our rights. We better get up and fight for our rights. We're kind of like the last bastion of freedom. You've got to understand that the United States, although, there are so many things that I can tell you that I don't like that I see going on, we are the last bastion of freedom. These other countries, people don't have a choice. New Zealand, Australia, right. They don't have a choice. Quarantine camps, we're going to quarantine you, and connecting it to the whole Kyle Rittenhouse thing. I hope it never gets to that point. But this United States and people that live in these United States, if it were to boil down to your just normal way of living and freedom, I hope people defend themselves against that, against the tyranny. Right. That is coming, the authoritarianism that is now. I yesterday on my Spanish show, I covered an article by a Chinese dissident artist. He's an artist. Last name is Weiwei, which I thought was a really cool name, by the way. But he was talking about. It was interesting because he was doing an interview on PBS, and the interviewer, the reporter, asked him whether. Because he had tweeted that during Mao Zedong's reign, where you had the Cultural Revolution in China, which made China what it is today, just a communist state. Under Mao Zedong, every night they would bring publicity to people's homes, be it in the form of a pamphlet or what have you. Another guy that was very much did that was Nazi Germany. A lot of propaganda. Mao Zedong did the same thing, propaganda. Well, the reporter, because Weiwei in a book that he wrote, compared Donald Trump's tweets during his presidency as a connection to his followers, a way of promoting his thoughts, his feelings, his ideology with his followers. Because he had put this in his book, the reporter then tried to, and she asked him, then do you see Donald Trump as an authoritarian like what Mao Zedong was? And she was definitely baiting the hook for him to say, oh, yes, that's exactly what Trump was doing. He was being just like Mao Zedong. And the funny thing is, the artist, he said, no, not at all. I don't think Donald Trump was authoritarian at all, because you have to have a system that backs you. And Trump was exactly the opposite of that. He went in to drain the swamp. I just don't think he knew how deep the swamp actually went. I don't think he had an idea that the swamp included the FBI and that it included the Department of Justice. But it was kind of funny because she was expecting him to say, oh, yeah, Trump was authoritarian. And when he didn't, not only that, he said, actually, what you have now is an authoritarian state. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
We're dealing right now with an authoritarian state. I just read this morning, they've approved the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. Well, why? I mean, why do we need to do that? There's
I got
no.
a text on my phone from our pediatrician.
Did you?
Yes.
What is it?
They were telling us that to call them because the vaccines are now available for those that are 5 to 11 years old.
It's insanity. It's absolute insanity. This virus, you have a 99.96 chance of surviving it if you get it. Right? And most likely.
And kids more so.
Oh my goodness. They have, there's hundreds, thousands of other things that have a higher percentage of chance of taking the life of a child. The common flu takes more children's lives than COVID is taken. Prove it. I can prove it to you statistically. I've done the work. And yet we're gonna vaccinate kids, and as a parent, we should have a choice. On our kids' decisions. We still don't know. We've talked about this because we're very vocal about the vaccine, you and I. I've actually had to cancel a meeting because of the vaccine. I'd love to go to Europe, but Europe, so stinking liberal, we're probably never going to make it to Europe again. I mean, the church wants to send us to Greece. I'd love to, but they better relax on the whole vaccine stuff because, there's things that I'm not anti-vaccine if the vaccine makes sense and if I'm really needing it. You talk about polio, you talk about other things, sure. But this thing, why? Why would I need this? What on earth do I need this thing for? And you can't say, it's to protect others because the vaccine doesn't protect anybody. I think it's really funny. I know we've had this conversation that, people that are vaccinated and then they get COVID, instead of being mad that they got COVID after having a vaccine that was supposed to help them not get COVID, instead of getting mad, they say, well, it's a good thing I had the vaccine because if not, it could have been a lot worse. Well, how do you know? I mean, it could have been exactly the same, but now you've got this vaccine. And you and I have personally talked to, I'm not going to say whose name, but this week we talked to a person, a friend of ours, that had been vaccinated and was vaccinated specifically because their job requires them to travel a lot. They didn't want the vaccine, but if they didn't get it, they couldn't travel to the places they need to for their job. And ever since then, they were fine before the vaccine. You remember? I was talking to this person. And ever since then, they have had problems in their body. They're not being able to function like they used to before. They have noticed the differences. And we're talking months. We're not talking 2 weeks ago, months ago. So the whole point is, that's crazy when you think about that QR code. It's Hong Kong. But the thing is, that's who we're dealing with now in office. He's that crazy. Him or the shadow government behind him are that crazy to where they would do that to us, to where, with your phone, that's a problem with these phones. With these phones, they can track us. They know where we're at. They know what you're doing, what you're searching for online. They have that little emergency thing there now that supposedly, if you've come in contact with anybody with COVID, you can get a notification if you want. You can shut them off. I really don't believe that they're shut off. No, that's just my opinion, because when I went through Utah, it notified me anyway, even though I had it shut off. But we've got to, folks, we've got to fight. That's what Amy and I have been feeling. It's depressing sometimes when you look at it all. But the other thing is we've got to fight for our rights. You better get out and vote when you have a chance to vote this next year.
That's the truth.
I mean, we need to. Thank God for what happened in Virginia.
Yes.
And in New Jersey, it was so close. You know, miraculously, again, they found a bunch of votes overnight, like 45,000 votes. That's a thing. Let me tell you why 2022 is so important. 2022 is so important because unless we take back the House and the Senate, we're going to be dealing with the voter fraud without it being checked, without it being reversed. So, and then I'm going to finish with this. We only have 9 minutes. Time has flown by, and my leftist tears have been good. I had a sore throat last night. So did you, I think. But I read this morning, and it really worries me. There's a internal memo at HHS. Did you hear about this? There's a memo at HHS targeting 2 Trump-era religious liberty protections. And I will say something about Trump. I do believe that he did what he could for religious liberty and for churches. And I hope every Christian that's listening to me can understand that. Whatever your opinion might have been of Donald Trump as far as his personality, how he could be vulgar or unfiltered or what have you, he did more for the protection of our rights as religious freedom in churches than any president in my lifetime, I think. He was more vocal about it. Maybe that's why everybody else hated him so bad, because they are very anti-God, anti-Christian. But everything seems to be going through, what does health and human services have to do with religious freedom, right? Yet HHS is considering revoking authority that the former Trump administration delegated for the Office of Civil Rights, or OCR, to prevent violations of religious liberty. And this is happening right now under Mr. Javier Becerra. And they found a memo. This was on Fox News today. They found a memo targeting 2 actions related to the First Amendment. The First Amendment, folks, this is freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. And there's an act called the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which prohibits federal infringements on the free exercise of religion. If COVID ever woke us up to anything, it woke us up to the fact that our religious freedom's under attack. And this country was founded on people that were looking for religious freedom. Our founding fathers, that's the primary 1A reason that they came and formed this country. They were wanting religious freedom. When you see, and I know I'm a talker, and what's amazing is my wife talks a whole lot more when it's just us, but we're gonna have to wake her up. She's very vocal about this stuff. But this is her first time, so and I talk a lot. But I don't, what bothers me? Here's what bothers me. And maybe it's too simplistic. Maybe my way of thinking is too simplistic. But why are we accepting an administration, or a political party for that matter, that seems to be bent on attacking every fundamental freedom and right that we have? I don't understand. Freedom of the press, all the censorship that's going on, that's being attacked. Freedom of religion, that's being attacked. Freedom of speech, say something they don't like, that's being attacked. Right to bear arms, that's being attacked. Can you not see, can you not see that everything that the Democratic Party stands for is anti what this country was founded on?
Constitution.
It's unbelievable that anybody in their right mind that considers themselves an American cannot see that the fundamentals that this country was founded on are being attacked. And so I was very concerned about this. And these are the kind of things that slip under the radar, right? That's one of the things. Maybe that's part of the strategy. Maybe the part of the strategy is to have such huge issues like the Afghanistan pullout, like the George Floyd stuff, like the supply chain crisis. Maybe part of their plan is they have such a huge mess that these other things that attack our religious freedom are kind of under the radar and people don't even know about it. I can guarantee you most people today listening to the show didn't even know that our religious freedom is being attacked. So you need to study up on it and do whatever you can to try and fight against this, because one of them, watch this, the OCR that I mentioned, which is the Office the Office of Civil Rights. You know, one of the things that it is? It's a signaling repeal of Trump-era moves on gender and sexuality. The OCR, in particular, here's what it says in Fox News, played a key role in the Trump administration's efforts to rein in purported conscious violations. Basically, you know, as a church, as Christians, we kind of take a stand on all this gender business that's going on. And we have the right to. And that under Trump, he was protecting issues related to gender and sexuality because of all the transgender movement. And now they're just forcing that on us like we've got to accept it, like it or not. And Trump protected our religious freedom to be vocal or to stand against that. But now that is being attacked. So you better wake up and understand that this administration is attacking the very fundamental things that we believe. If you're a Christian listening to this show, you know, the fundamentals of what we believe are under attack, and we've got to fight for it. Do you have any last words for everybody? Listen, we got 2 minutes. It flew by today.
You spoke for both of us.
Now that's a great way to end the show.
No, I could say I think people do need to wake up. People need to realize that this is not just going to go away. I've talked to so many Christians that say, oh, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. No, it's not going to get better. You're going to have to fight.
Yeah.
And you better fight against what they're trying to force on you, because anybody who takes over any kind of country or any kind of group of people, it's not a instant takeover. They start taking away things that you don't even notice, and you feel like it's a little thing, and it's not a little thing. If you put your head in the sand like an ostrich, you're going to wake up one day and wish you would have fought.
That's exactly right. We cannot just sit there and let things go by without being a voice. And, you know, that's why I take the risk with this show. It's a risk as a pastor to get on here and speak politics because, you know, we're not supposed to talk about that. It's taboo. But you know what? This is my country that I live in.
That's right.
I am a Christian, but I'm also an American. And I care about the kind of country my kids are going to be growing up in. Excuse me. So inform yourself, but be careful where you get your information from, too.
Yes.
If you were watching CNN, MSNBC, all of the alphabet soup out there, you're going to think that Rittenhouse is a horrible killer. You're going to think all this stuff. You're going to think that, man, this infrastructure bill is a great idea, you know, and you don't understand inflation's getting ready to skyrocket. It's a bad, bad deal. So you need to inform yourself outside of the mainstream and get a real education as to what's going on and fight for it. God bless you. It has been a privilege one more time to be on the Ryan Crossley Show here Wednesday mornings talking politics, and it was a great joy to have my wife. At least the view has been a whole lot better today than normally. You know, normally I'm looking into nothingness, but now at least maybe that's why I talk so much. I've been inspired by her beauty here, and I've been able to just watch her all morning long, and it's made time fly. Time flies when you're having fun with people that you love. So go and have some fun with people that you love today. Have a great day. God bless you. God bless America. Thank you for listening to the Ryan Crossley Show. We will see you next week live Well, no, I'm sorry. It's Happy Thanksgiving. I'm on vacation, but we'll have something for you live here on the Ryan Crossley Show. God bless. Have a great day.